Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Weekend Winners in association with BetVictor, your weekly go-to show to find you those big race winners. And on this week's episode, we have a huge show for you because we're previewing 4 races from the Arc weekend at ParisLongchamp, of course, headlined by the Qatar Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe. And raring to go to preview these races are Declan and Sam. Declan, well done again last week. Another good tipping section for you. I mean, was that the nap trick landed?
No, that was
four-timer.
Yeah. So fingers crossed we can get up to 5, which is a nice number. But yeah, going all right in the naps anyway.
Yeah, no pressure whatsoever then to translate it through to this week. And Sam, you've had a busy week yet again. Boxing last weekend, how was that?
Yeah, didn't go as well for our man as we'd have hoped, but let's hope we can land a knockout blow with our tips this weekend. I've got to try and catch Deck up. 5 in a row he's on for. I'm very impressed.
I know, very, very impressive. No pressure on the pair of us two either, actually, to try and make any sort of inroads to his sequence at the minute. But before we get into the previews, a reminder, as ever, to please do gamble responsibly. Our tips are not guaranteed to win, but we will still do our best to point you in the right direction. Now, we're going to leave the Arc, the feature race, then, till last. So make sure you stay tuned for that, because our first race up is going to be the Cadran on Saturday. Of course, another Group 1 for the 4-year-olds and over 2 mile 4 at 1:33. We have Triomphe and Holly Doyle back to Paris to try and reclaim their crown from 2021. But Deck, what's the play for you?
Yeah, only the 6 runners here, and if we're being honest, it's probably a poor renewal, but that won't matter a jot if we manage to get the winner of the race. Look, I doubt the likes of Triomphe and Emily Dickinson will ever get a better opportunity to win a Group 1 here. So, you know, nothing is really a 2-horse race in this game, but I'd be very surprised if one of them doesn't win. And look, I just thought at the prices I'd fancy Emily Dickinson over Triomphe. You know, I don't know what to make of Trushan's run last time out. He was very good, but at the end of the day, he beat a handicapper in Sweet William. Sweet William is a lovely progressive horse, but, you know, he was beaten in the Ebor. You know, so, and the other thing with Trushan as well, he must have had a hard race that day. Like, he looked in such good form with himself, tanked himself whole way through the race. But I just think the fresher approach with Emily Dickinson is the key here. She's been in good form this season. She ran a cracker in the Gold Cup at Ascot. She was brilliant in the Curragh Cup then on her favourite soft ground, although she is pretty ground versatile, to be fair to her. And then I thought she did really well to get to finish second in the Goodwood Cup. You know, she was near last in that race and done well to finish second. Not ideal. She comes here having missed the Irish St Ledger on the back of a stone bruise, but it does mean she is fresh. Going to be a hell of a lot fresher than Trushan after the last run that he had at Doncaster a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, going to kick off this week's show with a lady in Emily Dickinson.
We like that. And taking on an even money favourite, we like even more so then for Deck. Sam, where were you looking? Yeah,
very similar to Deck, really. It's kind of more of a price-sensitive thing than anything else. And I suppose looking at Trushan, I just don't know. The ground is drying as we record this, and I just wonder, obviously Trushan has got the opportunity to go to Ascot. Will Alan King run the horse? I'm not saying he's definitely going to pull the horse out, but I just would be a little bit concerned that Trushan's not going to get the best conditions that he would require to be an even money shot. Emily Dickinson, as Declan's alluded to, is ground versatile. In terms of the trip as well, that 4th in the Gold Cup at Royal Ascot, I thought was a cracking piece of form. And you look back through this race, and I just don't want to take even money about Trushan. I think Holly Doyle's going to have to 2 miles forward, Trushan. Gosh, she's going to have a hell of a job on her hands as well.
That's the other thing as well, isn't it? There's no pace in this race. You know, this could get really messy. You know, if I'm Holly Doyle, I'm taking a chance here and I'm bumping Trushan out in front and, you know, trying to get him settled in front and also make use of his stamina.
So, yeah, I came down on Emily Dickinson. I know it's not the most original selection to agree with Deck, but like I say, he's in good form. I think Emily Dickinson will be in good form as well.
I'm jumping on the bandwagon too then. Yeah, why not all 3 of us agree with our first race that we're looking at on our weekend, so we'll know our fate pretty early on, because like you've both said there, that the even money about the favourite currently, Trushan, just does not interest me whatsoever when you've got that potential for a bounce factor as well. Like last time out, he came into that race on the back of 135 days. Now he's just got the 15-day turnaround, soft ground, Doncaster. It would have been a hard race for him, especially given, as you said, Deck, how keen he was in the early stages as well. So of course, it's going to take plenty enough out of him. So I fear it's a quick enough turnaround for him. The potential for that bounce factor for these stayers. And also, as you said, Sam, there, the drying ground as well, where none of us know what ParisLongchamp is going to be like, really, with the morning dew, the autumnal conditions, but ground quickening the whole while. I still want to be taking him on. It would be a fantastic story. He's a wonderful character of a horse, and it would be brilliant for Holly Doyle, evidently, but Emily Dickinson for me as well. So agreeing with the pair of you two, and I thought that her second last time out behind Quickthorn in the Goodwood Cup was a fantastic effort, given that she did the next best of the rest. A brilliant ride. Coltrane obviously boosted that form, winning his next start at York as well. So she's had that bit of a freshen up, as you say, had a hand forced somewhat, but hopefully that will only be a positive for her. And she looks just a more solid play.
And the other thing with her, she's really straightforward. You know, Frankie Dettori's actually going to ride. We should have mentioned that. Frankie will just bounce her out and she'll settle away there. And then when he gives her a squeeze, she'll pick up and hopefully it will be enough.
Right, Emily Dickinson then for all three of us. Do let us know your own selections for the Cadran. But before we move on to our next race, if you are enjoying watching, please do remember to like and subscribe to the At The Races YouTube channel, and also hit the bell notification so you never miss an episode. Right, on to the Sunday action at ParisLongchamp now, because we are heading to the Opera at 3:50. The Group 1 Prix de l'Opera for the fillies and the mares over 10 furlongs, where we get to see the likes of Blue Rose Sen heading the way here as the 7-4 market leader, who's looking to get her season back on track somewhat. But Sam, can she do that, or who did you like?
I'm absolutely desperate to take her on here, Kate, to be perfectly honest with you. At 7-4, don't want to go anywhere near a horse who, if you go back to Goodwood, was very unlucky. That came down to just a frustrating sort of issue for the rider in terms of, I think that was just, the horse got Goodwooded. But next time out, you know, going up in trip was disappointing, I think. And Connections, interestingly, afterwards, the trainer was heard to comment to say the horse was tired, had a long season. And I kind of do think when you go back, you know, her season started, first run was the 16th of April. It's a long time since then. You know, looked very impressive in the first 3 runs. Very hard to knock her there. But as the season's worn on, that last run would really alarm me. Goes back down in trip, which would definitely suit, but 7-4 is just way too short. I've had a little look through and I kind of wanted to find something with a bit of an each-way angle. And I came down on Rogue Manelian for Tom Clover. I just thought 8-1 is a really fair price. The horse has had a good season, obviously placed plenty of times, seen here winning at Ascot. And I just kind of thought that the second last time out to Tahira over the shorter trip is a really nice piece of form. Tahira obviously ran really well and actually won it in a good time as well that day. You know, Rogue Manelian going back up in trip here, I definitely think it's going to suit. And I thought 8-1 was an absolutely cracking price, and a UK raider to hopefully get on the score sheet for us Brits.
That was the concern for me, though, is the trip. I thought her improvement came. It divided opinion with Connections whether or not to drop her back down to the mile. But you don't have any concerns about the extra 2 furlongs?
No, I don't. I mean, don't get me wrong, somewhere in between probably be ideal. Yeah. But listen, at 1 mile 2, I'm willing to take the chance. And I definitely think she's an each-way play at 8-1. Like I say, the favourite is what I want to take on, and that was kind of where I thought there was a little bit of value.
Exactly. Every horse has its price, and when you're getting that nice price about her with those slight, I guess, stamina doubts then maybe about this trip as such, but you're still getting plenty enough value about her price. All the same for Sam taking on the favourite deck. Where were you looking?
Yeah, I agreed with that, with a lot of what Sam said there. I definitely agree with Blue Rose Sen at 7-4 is too short. That is criminally short. I'll be amazed if we don't get bigger. As Sam said, she's also had a long season. You know, last time out, maybe a little bit of a non-staying kind of race. Those kind of races I always feel maybe kind of leave a little bit of a mark on a horse. So I'm happy to take her on. I think she makes the market for a good few bets. Rogue Millennium was high on my list again. I was worried about her going up in trip in a race that doesn't have pace. Now, we're doing this on Friday morning, so we haven't got the full decks yet. So we don't know where horse is drawn or what the pace is going to be like. But I don't see a lot of pace in here. I think Blue Rose Sen will probably go forward and Lumiere Rock won't be too far behind her. But I wouldn't have them as out and out kind of front runners, if you get me. So I thought a tactical 10 furlongs on nice ground would really suit Jana Rose. She's a daughter of Frankel. She's got an awful lot of pace, this filly, but she does race professionally, which I think you're going to need to here, because I don't think there's going to be pace in the race. She did really well to pick up Lumiere Rock in the pre-Alec Head in her last run. That was a really tactical run race on ground that was probably too soft for her, but Lumiere Rock got a freebie out in front, given a good ride by Ryan Moore. But Jana Rose picked her up quite readily, I thought. And I just, she's clearly a filly blessed with a lot of pace. I love she's coming here fresh as well, fresher than an awful lot of fillies in this race. And then she's trained by a man in Carlos Lafreniere, who's won this race, I think, with Villa Marina. I think it was maybe 3 or 4 seasons ago. And Christophe Soumillon, a man who knows that track better than most, will take the ride. I thought, given how poorly priced the favourite was, Jana Rose was a really strong each-way bet for me in a race that will set up perfectly for her.
No, I'm really concerned about the amount of agreement we already have on this show. Sorry, Sam, but with Dec here. And as you said, though, we don't have declarations at this stage that we're recording out on Friday morning, so we should obviously emphasise that point as well. But Jana Rose, though, hopefully she then lines up here, and I'm with her also because, like you've both said, Blue Rose Sen at that price does not interest me whatsoever here. And initially I found this race very tricky. I thought it was pretty wide open, but eventually coming down on the side of Jana Rose, though, a really likeable and progressive type, a winner of 4 of her 5 career starts. The only defeat coming when 6th in the Prix de Diane. She didn't get a clear run before she flattened out there. That wasn't her true running. It was certainly a learning curve for her, though. And that proved to be the case as she got back to winning ways with a career best last time out over the 10 furlongs at Deauville on officially very soft ground. But she's a filly who seemingly wants a sounder surface anyway. And as you just said, Dec, the form of her beating the consistent, really likeable and reopposing Lumiere Rock, I thought was solid when I thought Lumiere Rock probably had the better run through the race as well. But the tactical versatility then of Jana Rose and Lumiere Rock, of course, boosted that form by winning the Group 2 Blandford Stakes impressively. But I think that form will be confirmed also.
It sounds like you're Vive la France, is it, with me in this race?
Well, so I will leave the French colloquialisms to you, Dec.
No worries.
Happily so. I like to keep my job.
I met Laurent Barberon in the office just before we came on, so he's been teaching me well.
Yeah, we taught you how to dress like a Frenchman today. Very
I was
smart,
going to have the red tie, but I went for the red socks. But I thought we were a kind of calm and relaxed show, so I didn't stick the tie on.
A nice note anyway. A man of culture, as we've always said about him, Sam, haven't we?
It's the first time I've heard that.
We've said a few things about him. Not sure that one.
Yeah, culture probably being the kindest of which for a long time anyway. Now, we do digress, but we must get back to the action, though, because up next we have the Foray, which, along with the Abbey just before it, another Group 1, are both live and exclusive on Sky Sports Racing. And if you would like to see our Abbey tips, do head back to last week's episode where we previewed that particular contest. But we are on to the Foray over the 7 furlongs at 5 o'clock. We have defending champ Kinross back to retain his crown. So, Dec, can he do exactly that?
Yeah, I think he can. Look, again, it's another race we don't have the full declared field for, so we don't know pace and draw. But look, he's just I love this horse. He's one of the most likeable horses in training. He's tough, he's consistent, he's got a wonderful attitude, he's versatile with ground and trip. I'd still like to know the reason why Julian Richmond Watson, his previous owner, sold him to Mark Chan, because he must be kicking himself now. He's got one of the most likeable horses in training. Look, I'm going to keep this very simple. I just think Kinross will win.
OK, well, just sweet and simple, completely.
Sweet as a nut, Joey. Kinross.
Thank goodness, because you've left Sam and I with a bit more to talk about. Not to give anything away, but Sam, take it up from here, please.
Yeah, here's my sort of much lazier analysis, which is just the last sentence Declan said. This just looks right for Kinross, providing there's not some sort of weird, freakish thing. I think even money is a very fair price in comparison to some of the other favourites on the card on Sunday. Listen, I thought the run last time out was absolutely sensational. A career best, maybe not quite, but I definitely thought showed the horse to be in absolutely great heart. Obviously, previous winner of this race. And this is Kinross's time of year, isn't it? That sort of August through to October, November. Such an exciting prospect. Interesting to hear that obviously Hong Kong's potentially on the radar as well, as part of Frankie's farewell tour, it seems. And I think if Frankie hasn't already had a winner across the 2 days, I think this is where it will come. Let's be honest, Kinross should be a cut above these. I did look through the field and try to find something at a bit of value. Sometimes you can't, sometimes, and if you don't like backing even money shots, just don't have a bet. But like I say, he certainly will be going into my multiples on the day.
Yeah, and you both said there that even money probably looks a pretty fair price about Kinross, really, in this race to, again, win it for the second year running, just as he did last year. This race is no stronger than last year. If anything, I think it's weaker than last year's renewal. And you can make the case that he's coming into this in at least as good a form as he was last year as well. You've both said that this is his time of year also. And, of course, this time around, I mean, last year he also won the Park Stakes at Doncaster en route here, but he skipped that race this time around, heading here straight off of a repeat win in the City of York Stakes, which was a deeper renewal this year than last year in itself. Still won that cozy. He came there on the bridle. You could call him the winner from pretty much anywhere and everywhere in that contest as well. And as you said, this is his time of year. In the autumn, he's the 7 furlong king and 7 furlong horses. I love siding with them because they seem to be more consistent than the majority of other performers. They're such a specialist, unique type of horse. So unless something drastically changes then about his approach to this race or throughout the race, then Kinross surely just wins.
This will be the day when the three of us are on board that Kinross has a little bit of a blip.
I know, don't, Jack. Do not put the mockers on us or Kinross, who is, I mean, he's probably my favourite flat horse in training, really. So many turns. So I'm not about to abandon him now. We are all with Kinross in the foray. Again, do let us know your own selection for the contest in the comments section below as we move on to the big one. The Group 1 Qatar Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe. It comes up at 3:05 for the 3-year-olds and over. No geldings, of course, over a mile. For international runners, trends to have to defy, supplemented horses. There are so many angles in this year's renewal. But Sam, most importantly, who wins the 2023 running?
Yeah, with 4 places on the race as well, to give that a bit of a plug. Ace Impact heads to betting with ourselves and has actually been sort of the anti-post favourite for a long time. And 3-1, to me, on the face of it, looks generous. I would just ask this question. If it was a British or Irish trained horse going into this race with such a colt, a 3-year-old colt, very exciting, unblemished record, stepping up in trip and on paper looking like they're going to get the trip when you think the horse by Cracksman, you know, it's very exciting. I think 3-1's massive. I think if this was, I know I don't like the phrase if it was trained by somebody else, but if it was a UK or Irish-based horse, I think it'd be sort of around a 2-1 chance. I'm really excited. The trainer is bang in form, hitting a 40% strike rate at the moment. People have sort of said, oh, got to go up in trip and show he can do it. I think the run style suggests that turn of pace is there. I think he'll stay fine. And I'll be honest, he's got a good draw in where he is. You'd want to be in that part. You know, Hukum, who actually I think was our worst result up till about a couple of days ago in our anti-post book, flicking through sort of where he is in the car park. I know you like him, Kate, so I'm not going to put too much of a dampener on it. But, you know, people say, oh, yeah, horses have done it from that draw. I would argue more talented horses have done it. A little bit unfair on Hukum, maybe, I don't know. I've obviously bashed him in the past and been made to look very silly, so it won't be the first time. Others to just give a mention to, I do like the chances of Westover. I know one, perhaps you'd want to be a little bit further out than there, but I think Westover will turn over their result. If I'd have a match bet with you, Kate, I think Westover will finish in front of Hukum. Others, Continuous, trying to do the St Ledger Arc double, just for me puts me off, especially with the gap being so short this year. I think he's a really talented horse, but I just back down in trip, I'd be a bit concerned there. Feed the Flame wants softer ground. So you start looking through it. Baybridge, I think I'd actually respect his chance on paper more than probably I dismissed him a couple of weeks ago. I know he was entitled to win that Kempton race as he is. He's got a big fan on the right of me as well, which I'm sure he'll touch on Baybridge a little bit more. I thought Fantastic Moon, though, was probably one of the bigger price plays that I'd be interested in if you're looking for an each-way angle. Supplemented to come here, will get the ground and finished ahead of others, including Feed the Flame, so I don't understand the price disparity. But for me, the favourite is the right favourite, and I'll be backing him at 3-1.
Oh, he's strong on this one, isn't he? And a good few cases for some bigger price horses as well, but all about the favourite Ace
I feel like we've had a runner-by-runner guide by Sam there.
No, very impressive, very impressive. He got the mantle then.
Yeah, I'm with Ace Impact as well. Before I kind of go into maybe the case around him, I would say tactically this, you know, I don't see an awful lot of pace in the race this year. There's a 2 or 3 horses like to go forward, but on nice ground, in my head I'm visualising a very similar running to how to the year Golden Horn won the Arc. You know, pretty tactical enough race on nice ground. That's how I'm visualising it. The worry, I suppose, the one worry with Ace Impact would be if he does get a little bit too far behind, he can be a little bit gassy. But I think he is growing up, to be fair, and he's racing more professionally, but I do think pace will help him. He was a brilliant winner of the Prix de Jockey Club. You know, the way he quickened and the way he hit the line that day was just ridiculously impressive. His numbers in terms of his sectionals are outstanding. I think he's got marginally the best form in the race on the back of that run. He's got a brilliant profile for the race. You know, he's a 3-year-old colt, trained in France, unbeaten in 5, and he's got a nice pedigree, trained by Cracksman, a horse who I still haven't forgiven John Gosman for not running in an Arc. But there's an awful lot to like about him. People will say, one thing I would like to stress is people weren't impressed with him in his prep run. Was it the pre? I'm not even trying to pronounce it. Lauren was trying to give me learned lessons, but I've obviously clearly bottled it. In his prep run last time out, people weren't impressed with him, but he had a pacemaker in that day. The pacemaker did an appalling job. He really did. And to come as far back as he did in a tactical race and still pick up a nice horse, if Joseph O'Brien's in Al Rifa was a good performance. On the plus hand, he comes in here really fresh, and given, you know, Sam said there if he was trained by a better trainer he'd be shorter.
Not better.
No, kind of a more high profile trainer. Rouget is a top class trainer. He knows how to train a horse for the race, so I think he's got an awful lot going for him. I just think fundamentally on ground that's going to be hopefully good. I think he'll have too much pace and class for the likes of Hukum and Westover.
Well, you two in agreement then with Ace. In fact, I'm concerned about the trip for him more so than anything else. I think he is a very fast horse. I think he's a huge talent, and I both agree with the pair of you two where we almost have like a domestic bias to our markets when we look ahead to ParisLongchamp and those races over there. So he probably is a feasible price, but all the same though, I'm still going to take him on with Hukum, where I was gutted yesterday when the draw came out. Oh, not as gutted as Connections evidently would have been. You talk about Golden Horns here, though. Where did he win from? Still 14. So I'm hoping that is going to be the same case then for Hukum. I'm not about to abandon him now just on the fact of the draw, because if he goes and wins this, I will kick myself. Now, there's been a lot of talk about stats against many of the runners in this year's renewal, and many will point to the fact that 6-year-olds don't win the Arc. No 6-year-old has ever won the Arc. In fact, the last horse older than 5 to win the Arc was Matrico, who won it as a 7-year-old in 1932. So how many 6-year-olds though in recent years have tried to win the Arc at that age? So I went back through the last 10 years of the race. 9 6-year-olds have tried. The 4th is the best that they have done. That was Siljan's Saga, who finished 4th at 200 to 1. But the key year, though, and probably the damning year, is 2020. Enable tried it. She could only finish 6th. Stradivarius, the same age, was 7th. Deirdre was 8th. So that is probably the significant year to really focus in on. But when you look back at that, I mean, Enable, that was her 19th start. She'd already run in 3 Arcs, though, prior to that, winning 2 of them. Heavily campaigned, therefore. Stradivarius, that was his 25th start. Deirdre, that was her 32nd start. This is Hukum's 18th. So, yes, he's had plenty enough runs, but he's only reaching his peak now. And he hasn't had that real heavy campaigning of those top-notch races to really sort of bottom him. So I'm hoping that Hukum is still the heavyweight, proven over the trip, that he can defy the draw, just as I say, as Golden Horn did in 2015 and Dalakani did in 2003. So if he went and win, I didn't side with him, I kick myself.
And in some ways, the most important number with regards Hukum is 128, which is his official rating, which suggests he is a top class horse.
Yeah.
And that King George form is probably on a level par of what Ace Impact has done this year. So I think for me that's the most important number, although I admire your bravery for sticking with him, doubling down after the draw.
Oh, I have to. I was sick, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, I have to keep siding with him anyway. So it's Hukum for me, the pair of you two with Ace Impact. So that is our look ahead to the Qatar Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe even. Do let us know your own selections for the big race itself in the comment section below as we head over to the Sky Pad to give you our best bets for the weekend. It's the time of the show to reveal our best bets for the weekend. And Dec, of course, I'm going to go to you first. No pressure, but you need to continue this winning sequence. Yes,
let's see how we go. I'm hoping for a Ballydoyle bonanza on Saturday, because the nap is going to be Emily Dickinson, live on Sky Sports Racing in the Cadran. Look, we know she stays this trip, as we saw in the Gold Cup. I like her prep more than Trushan. She's coming in here a fresher horse. She did miss the Irish Ledger via Stonebrew, so clearly someone at Ballydoyle hasn't been picking the stones off the gallops.
Not been the same since you left.
Exactly, but that means she's coming in here fresh, and I think that's going to be key to her chance. The next best then, we're going to go to Newmarket on Saturday in the Judmont Royal Lodge, and it's going to be Capulet. I think he's got an outstanding chance, and I think he should be a little bit shorter. I think already on what we've seen so far in terms of form, he's got maybe 5 or 6 pounds in hand, but he's only had 2 runs, trained by a master in Aidan O'Brien, big pedigree by Frankel, and his prominent style of racing I think will be suited to the track at Newmarket for this front runner. And then the long shot, this horse is just grossly overpriced. Stay alert in the Prix de l'Opera on Sunday. The only worry is there's no pace in the race, and she is a horse who likes to chase a good gallop because she can be keen. But to be fair to her, since the tongue tie has gone on 2 starts ago, she has been settling a little bit better. On paper, there doesn't look to be much pace in the race, but if they do happen to go a gallop, that will definitely help her chance. At 25 to 1 or plus, she is grossly overpriced, especially if we get some pace to run at.
I'm just delighted that Emily Dickinson is your nap to hopefully bring up the 5-timer then for your nap sequence, and we're with her as well, Sam, but your own best bets.
Yeah, it's a big weekend over here, isn't it, as well? And a bit like Dec, I want to keep one eye on Newmarket at least, and the Cheveley Park is a really interesting race, but kind of feel like I've missed a little bit of the season with Relief Rally, because I'm finally getting on board after what feels like nearly the perfect season. Obviously just touched off at Royal Ascot, but apart from that, she's been pretty much absolutely brilliant. 2 to 1, very much going to be, this is her year by the sounds of it from Connections, and they seem to think that others may well catch her up, but 2 to 1 at the moment in ground conditions that are going to be a little bit unseasonal at Newmarket. You'd expect it to be a little bit easier underfoot, but we've got good, possibly even good to firm in the going description there. So I'm really keen to be with her. Kinross, we've spoken all about his chances, and just, at the end of the day, I think he's an absolutely cracking bet around even money. And the long shot, this is another Group 1 which will have implications for next season, and Van Dijk's your 2 to 1 favourite, who I don't think will like the ground. You've got River Tiber coming back, who finished 3rd to him last time. Jaspal in there as well. All really interesting horses, but Task Force for me looks a really intriguing runner who's open to improvement. Just the 2 starts. Finished a good winner last time out at Ripon, where the 3rd was my selection actually last week in the big race at Newbury, and was arguably a little bit unlucky, 7 questions. 9 to 1, probably a bit skinny for a long shot. I think it may drift on the day. Unbeaten, needs to take another step forward, but I just thought very, very interesting horse for Rafe Beckett.
Very interesting at Newmarket there, and that's where I'm looking for all of my best bets. I'm delighted that we've covered all of ParisLongchamp's action, because I'm just solely looking at Newmarket for my own best bets for the weekend. And my nap comes in the race that Sam was just talking about, and it is Van Dijk. I don't have the ground concerns about him. If you go back earlier on in the season to quotes from Connections, they actually said that he will be a better horse on better ground. So that's quite a scary idea, really, because already he's been so impressive. When the market first opened up and he was the same price as River Tiber, I thought, why? Why on earth would River Tiber be reversing that form from the Group 1 pre-Morney last time out? Van Dijk coming out on top of that, and I just think he is a really, really proper horse. James Doyle obviously taking over in the plate. 15 to 8 is a fair price, I think, for him. My next best is Greek Order in the 340 at Newmarket. That is the Cambridgeshire Heritage Handicap over 9 furlongs. He is the favourite. He shortened up again there to 100 to 30, but I think he is the proverbial group horse in a handicap. Very impressive last time out over 10 furlongs when winning, and he drew away in really impressive style. That was without a hind shoe as well. Handicapper didn't miss him with a £10 rise, but I just thought at the time, no matter how harsh the handicapper is here, he's still not going to be able to catch up with him. I don't think he has. He's a nice high draw to boot, which I want in the Cambridgeshire, and I think he's going to take a lot of stopping, provided, of course, he gets luck in running. When you've got a 35-runner handicap, you always need a bit of luck, but Greek Order is a smart one, I think. And my long shot comes in the same race in the Cambridgeshire Heritage Handicap, and that's Tawada at a bigger price, who just missed out on his own hat-trick last time out, only 7th of 19 at York in another Heritage Handicap. That was under a penalty where he raced slightly away from the main action in that. I don't think he was disgraced, beaten just 4 lengths. He's down £1 this time around. He's another unexposed 3-year-old with plenty more, hopefully, to have to offer. offer. So they are my own best bets for the weekend. And that is everything from us on this week's show. A big thank you to Dec and to Sam for all of their hard work as per usual. A big thank you to you at home for watching. Remember, you can watch all of the ARC weekend action live on Sky Sports Racing. We'll be back at the same time next week to preview Ascot, Newmarket, as well as Champions Day. An early look ahead to that day, which is just 3 weeks away.